book lovers, it is G-Swizz here, and I'm here today with my December TBR. I'm actually filming this the first week of November, and I technically am because in a week and a half's time from when I'm filming this, my mother-in-law is going to be staying with us for 2 months, and she's flying in from Colombia, which is very exciting. I finally get to meet my mother-in-law in person, and I also do bring this up in my video today because it could potentially affect my end of year content or beginning of year content. So just know that I do want to consistently upload, you know, at least 2 videos a week. I've also got a very hectic work schedule in December. Oh my goodness, I don't want to think about what's going to be happening in December at the moment. I am excited, but I am nervous, and it might affect how I approach my channel content. Right now, I'm very much ahead in terms of my editing and my uploading schedule, so that is awesome. But if I do end up falling behind at any point, it is most likely because December is one of the most busy months that I've had in a while, and because I want to have a bit of family time. I still do plan to do my end of year content, so stay tuned for that. At the moment, I'm trying to do as much pre-filming as possible because it is pretty difficult when 3 people are living in a 1-bedroom apartment and the main room is the filming room. I want to make sure that I'm filming as much as I possibly can whilst I have the space. Anyway, that is like a side note about December, but pretty much you get my drift. December is going to be a pretty busy month, and so I don't expect myself to get to this entire TBR. I do want to challenge myself to at least read some of these by the end of the year, and I mean, not every single one of them I want to take off of my list in terms of like strictly finishing them by the end of the year. However, some of them I do. I guess without further ado, let's get straight into the books that I really want to read by the end of the year. Fingers crossed it will happen. First book I put on my December TBR is a book that I definitely need to get to. And I know that in November I will probably not be able to get to it because I have so many anticipated releases coming out in November. I already know that I have no space in the current month that I'm in at the moment to fit it in. However, I want to finish this duology by the end of the year because I told myself I wanted to finish this duology almost instantly when the second book finally came out, and I never got the chance to. But I just received my Bookish box special edition of These Twisted Bonds by Lexi Ryan. It doesn't say that on the actual dust jacket itself here, but there you go. It is These Twisted Bonds. This is a very pretty edition. So I even reread These Hollow Vows like a month before These Twisted Bonds came out, and I never ended up reading These Twisted Bonds. These Twisted Bonds was one of my most anticipated releases of the year. It's still one of my most anticipated books of the year. I'm not gonna lie, I am very nervous about how this is all going to tie up because These Hollow Vows definitely has like longer series potential. Like I would appreciate the series if it was a quartet or longer because I did like the world building. I liked the world, I liked the characters, and yes, I'm not gonna lie, I would have actually wanted to follow the good love interest for a longer time because personally I feel like we didn't get much time with him in the first book. So I hope that this sequel slash finale ties things up very well. It is a chunker from what I've noticed as I'm holding it. Yeah, it is almost a 500-page book. So I really hope that it ties everything up nicely. I am always very skeptical when it comes to duologies. Also, I do want it to count towards this year's series count. I think I'm nearing the amount that I completed last year, which is really cool. So I'm hoping that this finale can contribute to that, and hopefully I love it just as much as I want to. Another book that I definitely want to get to by the end of the year is actually a book that I wanted to read like at around Christmas time last year, but I couldn't because everywhere I went, this book was out of stock. So I made sure that Camilo purchased it for me earlier this year. I mean, I was going to buy it for myself, but Camilo offered to buy me a book. So I asked him in October to buy me In a Holidaze by Christina Lauren. This is their Christmas novel, and it's not too long, just around 300 pages. And what I can definitely say for certain is that I am always down for a Christina Lauren novel. I have read 9 this year. This will probably be my 10th, and who knows, it might be an 11th because there's another Christina Lauren novel on my TBR that I do want to get to, but I'm not strictly holding myself to get to it in December because once again, December's a busy month. But In a Holidaze works very well for this month. Like, it'd just be weird if I read this, I don't know, in January or February of next year. So I have to get onto it as soon as possible. But also, I mean, I don't really have many Christmassy books on my TBR anyway. I don't know, I don't usually pick them up, but I like Christina Lauren a lot. So I definitely want to get to this one and let you guys know how I go with it. I reckon that I am going to enjoy it just like any other Christina Lauren novel that I've read. There are some exceptions to that, but majority of them I do love. And yes, speaking of Christina Lauren, I also have Love in Other Words. I've wanted to read this one for quite some time, but I only recently purchased it. I kind of wanted the US US yellow cover to this book instead, and I wanted to see if that was available anywhere. It turns out I could not find that available anywhere that I was looking, so I ended up purchasing this cover, which does not suit any of their other cover styles here in the Australia/UK paperback market. But yeah, you know what? I'll take this. Love in Other Words, I've heard, is a very heartfelt novel by Christina Lauren. You know what? With Christina Lauren's novels, you'll never really know exactly what you're gonna get. Sometimes you can get a really funny, snarky romance novel, and sometimes you can get a romance novel that hits hard, that hits deep. I mean, Twice in a Blue Moon is one of those ones that just hits completely deep. I personally forgot when I was reading it that I was reading a Christina Lauren novel. I thought I was reading a Taylor Jenkins Reid novel. That is how deep it got. And I do love Twice in a Blue Moon, and I wonder if Love in Other Words is a novel that is technically on that side of the spectrum rather than being on the snarky and comedic side of the spectrum. So I'm hoping that I can get to this at some point. I might need a heartfelt read at the end of the year. Now I'm going to mention some books from another comfort author of mine. Now my friends is Tessandra Odette. I'm not heavily holding myself to this. If I do need another comfort read and if I do need to dive into more fantasy, I want to continue on with the Entangled with Fae companion novels. Third companion novel being Kiss of the Selkie, and the fourth companion novel being A Taste of Poison. I actually don't know how long the series is going to go for, but I reckon as long as Tessandra Odette can find a fairy tale to write a reimagining about, she will do it within this world. I personally loved the first two novels within this companion series, and I definitely do want to continue on at some point, and I figured that December might be a good time if I do need a comfort read. Pretty much, to sum it all up, December is going to be a very busy month for me, and if I want to read anything, it will most likely have to be for comfort, because I will need to be comforted in some sort of way. If I can't find that anywhere else, I will find that in books, hopefully. I really don't want to push myself by the end of the year. Yes, of course, I do have like reading goals and aspirations and whatnot, but as we are nearing like a very busy period for me work-wise and me personal life-wise, things are just gonna get like really busy, and reading, if anything, just has to be my comfort. And I mean, that's a good thing, because that is the reason why some of us read as well. We also read for comfort. We met Maisie in the previous novel in the series, and I definitely wanted more of Princess Maisie, but I know that this is her novel. I cannot wait to get to it, and hopefully Kiss of the Selkie will lead on to A Taste of Poison. I'm pretty sure it will, because in Tessandra Odette's fashion, she does an excellent job at transitioning one story to another. And speaking of fantasy romance, I actually have a fantasy romance on my TBR that I want to reread. In fact, I've almost forgotten everything about the standalone. However, this standalone is going to get a sequel novella that I do also want to read. And I mean, I have also read another book by this author before, and I decided I wanted to give their writing a second chance. So hopefully by the end of the year, I will start and I will finish Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. So a novella length short story will be coming out in January for the series. A lot of people are very much excited to follow these characters again, but as much as I'm excited to read this novella short story and to see what the hype is about, I've forgotten almost everything about Sorcery of Thorns, and everyone still talks about Sorcery of Thorns like it's one of the best fantasy standalone novels ever, and people have been begging for a sequel for a very long time. So I do want to jump on the bandwagon. I want to jump on the hype train. I have read this novel. It's just, I read it ages ago, and I really need to remind myself as to what happens. And also, I need to see whether it is actually worth the hype, because I didn't get the hype the first time. Maybe I read it at the wrong time. Maybe I read it when I was like super absent-minded, because honestly, when I think about it, I probably was, because I just wasn't having an attachment to this book whatsoever. So I hope that changes. I really want to reread this and re-experience it. I personally loved An Enchantment of Ravens, and that's a very unpopular opinion because not everybody does. I kind of wish that that book extended into a series, but it never did. However, these books are like companions of each other, so I definitely do want to check out A Sorcery of Thorns and see how this one goes. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I will love it even more, because the first time I read it, I can't even remember. I have nothing really to compare it to at the end of the day. And the second last book that I have on my planned TBR for December is Wild is the Witch by Rachel Griffin. And yes, personally, I do want to get to a bunch of standalones by the end of the year, because when I start every year, my main focus is to get through a bunch of series. I mean, if I don't get to a bunch of standalones by the end of the year, then that is okay. Like, I don't really need to. This, however, is a fantasy standalone. I don't know whether it's a companion to a Never book by Rachel Griffin. I believe it's a standalone. It could be extended. I really don't know, but the last time I checked, Wild as the Witch was a standalone. And I do want to read it because, first of all, I got it in my Bookish Box monthly subscription, and second of all, I want to try something new. I've never read anything by Rachel Griffin. I heard that A Nature of Witches was absolutely amazing, and Wild as the Witch was very much anticipated by a bunch of the fans of that book, so I'm very much excited to try it out. This is also very hard to see in the camera, so I'll probably just show it off like this. I also really like the packaging on this Bookish Box special edition. Once again, I want to make sure that I'm reading the pretty books that I am purchasing. I have heard from some readers that this is one of their favorite books of the year, so I really hope that it surprises me because I'm going into this book with no expectations. I've never read anything by Rachel Griffin before. I don't think I would have if I did not receive this Bookish Box special edition, so we will see. And the final book that I put on this planned December TBR Today Book Lovers is a book that Camilo purchased for me. It's the most recent one that he's purchased for me as I'm filming this video today, and I just figured, why not prioritize it? I mean, I don't have to get to it, but it sounds fun. That, my friends, is Lizzie Blake's Best Mistake by Maisie Eddings. I also want to read A Brush with Love by Maisie Eddings, but I purchased that one for myself. For some reason, I think to myself, I need to prioritize the ones that Camilo has purchased for me, because sometimes he asks me, how was the book? And then I end up telling him that I haven't yet read it, and I feel terrible. Whereas this one, I'm not gonna have that with this one. I'm going to read it because I got really excited over this one and the fact that he purchased it for me. We're gonna change things up here. I mean, I get to majority of the books that he purchases for me, but there are some times where I start a book that he purchases for me and then something else gets in the way. So I have to switch things up. It's absolutely lovely that I do have a husband who purchases books for me. And like, no, he doesn't expect me to read them all straight away. But at the very same time, I do want to be able to tell him, by the way, the book that you bought for me, I absolutely love. Some of them I've absolutely adored, that I gave like 5 out of 5 stars. I know that I'm the one who chooses them at the end of the day, but I like to be able to tell him that. Overall, I do want to at least read Maisie Eddings' books at some point. Brush with Love took everyone by storm earlier this year. I saw it pretty much all over the internet and people are like, whoa, no way, this book is amazing. I do want to get to this one as well. This one I have purchased for myself, but I have a bit more motivation to read this one because Camilo purchased it for me. Overall, I do want to get to both of these at some point. Also, their covers are absolutely beautiful. So I guess that's gonna be it for this video today, book lovers. If you happen to stay to the end of the video, leave me the Christmas tree emoji because we're starting to get into the holiday season. And if you happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already. Join the amazing community of book lovers. And also, I have social medias. MattGSwizzleBooks on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also Goodreads. That's www.goodreads.com/gswizzle. And finally, I'm at TikTok. MattGSwizzle on TikTok if you want to follow me there for some bookish content. I love you, book lovers, and I will see you later. Peace.
Started out with half and I flipped it into double. Started out with half and I flipped it into double.